Hi guys, hope you are having a great day, enjoying the sunshine and doing lots and lots of amazing things. Um, so we are at page 266 and I'm ready to go, so off we go yet again. Reluctantly, Wish took out the key and unlocked the nearest door, which swung open with an ominous creak. "You look, Bodkin," said Wish, putting her hand over her eye. Bodkin peered round the edge of the door and fainted. Wish very hurriedly shut the door. "What was in there?" said Wish when Bodkin came round again. "You really don't want to know," said Bodkin. After that, Wish decided that it was kind of worse than not knowing, because then it left it up to her imagination as to what it might be in there, so she made up her mind she was going to look the next time. Bodkin opened up the next door and immediately shut it again with an eew of disgust. "What was in there?" cried Wish. "Heads," said Bodkin. "Oh, come on, I've had enough of this," said Wish, pushing him out of the way. "It can't possibly be heads. You're just completely determined that my mother should be this bad person." And she shoved Bodkin out of the way and went into the room. It was heads. "Ew!" said Wish. Wish shut the door again very, very quickly. "I'm sure there's a reasonable explanation for that," she said. "My mother is very interested in anatomy." "Really?" said Bodkin sceptically. Other rooms contained less gruesome things. A whole collection of spelling books, for example. A library with everything carefully lined up in rows and labelled, for Sycorax was a very neat person. A potion room. Many collections of banned magical objects. But even after a long time searching, they still hadn't found Tsar. Meanwhile, down in cell number 445, as hour after hour passed, with no sign of Wish and Bodkin, and the sword coming to his rescue him, Tsar's spirits were sinking, and he was very close to despair. Of course, Sycorax's dungeons were designed with spirit sinking in mind. That's part of the point of a dungeon. After all, you don't design them to be cheerful, airy spaces with a nice view and comfy seating. Every now and then during the day, Sycorax would visit and ask whether he had changed his mind about telling her where the sword was and the sprites, and Tsar got the opportunity to shout and hiss rude remarks about her nose, and that cheered them up a little. But then she went away again, and the dank and miserable dark prison air would sink into their bones, and the song of lost magic would depress them even further. "She's not coming, that Wish," hissed Tiffenstorm, whose light was fading fast. "Stupid warrior of a girl! Why would you trust her?" "She took the sword. She warned me about the love never lies potion," said Tsar moodily, for he was worrying about the same thing himself. "They're too stupid to follow the sprite dust. They're too cowardly to come here anyway. They hate you. They won't be able to unlock the doors." The miserable sprites kept up a steady flow of discouraging comments, for they were desperately unhappy. "You've kidnapped them. You stole their sword. You tricked them," said Ariel. "Why would they risk their lives for you? The enemy, the turnips in tin cans." "Ariel has got a point," said Caliburn gloomily. Had Tsar been stupid to put his life in the hands of two enemy warriors? "They liked squeeze juice," said Tsar. "I know they did." He looked down at Squeeze Juice. Squeeze Juice was so dark now he was nearly black, and his little heart was barely beating. He was racked with seizure after seizure, where he was overcome with such shaking and delirium that he was not himself. But now he came to his senses for a second. "What's happening to me?" whispered Squeeze Juice, and you could see the fear in his eyes. "As I go into the dark side?" "Of course not," said Tsar, and just as Squeeze Juice fell back into a coma again, he whispered so faintly Tsar could barely hear it. "Tsar, you save me," and put one tiny claw-like hand trustingly against Tsar's chest. Tsar would have to give Sycorax what she wanted. At least that would mean Squeeze Juice would live. But then his father's magic would be in danger. Tsar was not a despairing person, but even he was beginning to run out of hope. When he heard footsteps and whispering in the corridor. "Excuse me, it is Vimto." "You look in this one, Bodkin. I just can't bear to look," said the voice of Wish. "They're here!" cried Bodkin's voice as Bodkin's face appeared in the grill. There was a clicking noise and creak. the heavy door of cell number 445 swung open. Tsar could never have imagined that he would be so astonishingly grateful and thankful to see two warriors, one tall skinny one and one little limpy one. Even the sprites were delighted, somehow finding the energy to buzz excitedly, although they barely had the strength or energy to fly now, and were lower and lower in the air, as if they had lead in their shoes. "You came," said Tsar to Bodkin and Wish, so excited he even hugged them. Who would have ever thought that Tsar would hug a warrior? "Of course we came," said Wish. "I said I would, didn't I? I wouldn't leave a friend in trouble like that." Tsar agreed that she was indeed an excellent friend, who had shown unexpected initiative for a warrior. "How did you get in, and how are you opening the doors?" asked Tsar. "Bodkin gave the sentry a sleeping draught," said Wish, "and my mother dropped the key to the dungeons. How is Squeeze Juice?" She could see the little sprite shaking inside Tsar's waistcoat. "He's not doing well, I'm afraid," said Tsar, as Wish unchained the snowcats with Queen Sycorax's key, and the snowcats burst out excitedly. "We need to get him to the stone as fast as we can." But just as they were preparing to leave, Bumbleboozle zoomed like a little speedy midgy streak of lightning in through the grille of the door in a state of the greatest alarm. She was thoroughly out of breath, for she had flown all the way from where she had been on the lookout up at the entrance to the dungeons. "Queen Sycorax!" she shrieked. "She's coming!" Chapter 16. A really bad moment for Queen Sycorax to turn up. "Queen Sycorax is coming!" said Bodkin, just about managing not to faint again. "She mustn't find me here," squealed Wish, absolutely petrified. It was one thing to secretly decide that she wanted to be friends with the wizard. It was quite another to be found by her mother in the act of not just sympathizing with the enemy, but actively unlocking their cell and helping them escape. "Don't worry," said Tsar. "Hide and I'll deal with her. I'll be polite this time, I promise. Give me the sword and lock the door behind you." "Be nice to her, Tsar," warned Wish, throwing Tsar the enchanted sword. "Excuse me, trust me," grinned Tsar. Bodkin and Wish ran out of the room and hid round the corner in desperate haste, for from the sound of her footsteps, Queen Sycorax was approaching at quite a speed. She was coming to offer Tsar one last chance to see sense and get his sprite to the stone that takes away magic in time to save its life. Surely even a wizard boy with no conscience at all would not want his sprite to die. But Tsar was proven to be unexpectedly obstinate. She was alarmed to find that she had lost her key. Luckily, she had a spare. Furious to see her sentry fast asleep, and as soon as she set foot in the dungeon, she sensed something had gone wrong. Queen Sycorax knew every noise that went on in her dungeon. Every drip of water, every muffled moan from her prisoners, every tap of the guard, every flicker of candle, every line of song, ghost or sprite was familiar to Queen Sycorax. Something was awry. That means not right. She knew it. She moved up from her normal glide to a most unaccustomed actual run, so that her footsteps made quite a racket in those echoing corridors. If Bumbleboozle had not warned them, Sycorax would have caught her daughter in the act of aiding and abetting the enemy. But Bodkin and Wish had whisked round the corner in the nick of time, locking the door again behind them. So when Queen Sycorax unlocked the door of cell number 445 and swept in with a regal swish of her rich red cloak, Tsar was standing in the middle of the room as if nothing had happened, the enchanted sword behind his back. "Oh my God, what is going on here?" panted Queen Sycorax. "Nothing," said Tsar. Snapped Queen Sycorax disbelievingly, her eyes raging suspiciously all over Tsar, looking round the room, for she did not trust him for 1 second. Right, this is your last chance, and Tsar, son of Encanto," snapped Queen Sycorax. "I'll not come back here again tonight, and your sprite will be dead in the morning. Where is me sword?" "Would this be the sword that you're talking about?" said Tsar thoughtfully, taking the sword out from behind his back. Queen Sycorax went absolutely rigid with shock. A low growling behind her, and 3 enormous snowcats with teeth like kitchen knives were slowly, menacingly creeping out of the shadows. "How on earth they were just chained to the wall? How now are they unchained?" breathed Sycorax, as white as her dress. "Who brought you me key? And where on earth have you got the sword from?" "Never you mind. But don't move, Queen Sycorax," said Tsar, Well, I will kill you with this sword. That beastly boy. She should have brought guards with her, but the guards had thoroughly searched him, so she thought, and she was perfectly safe visiting an unarmed little boy and a few sprites all safely locked up in a most secure cell. Sycorax's hand crept towards her waistband where her own sword was hanging. I said, don't move, said Tsar, and there was a gleam in his eye that made Queen Sycorax halt. Wizards were generally a peaceable people, but Tsar was not like most wizards the Queen had ever met. So, Tsar, son of Encanto, spat Queen Sycorax, infuriated to find the tables had been turned on her. What you gonna do now that you've burgled me sword? I'm going to take my sprite to the stone that takes away magic, said Tsar, and then I'm going to release the giants and other magic prisoners that you have wickedly locked up here, and we can all escape from this fort of dullness and iron turnip heads and go back to wizard camp where we belong. You're going to be arrested as soon as you leave these dungeons, said Queen Sycorax. Giants are rather visible, and this fort is swarming with guards. But you're a tricky, wicked queen with a lot of secrets, said Tsar, so I bet you have a secret exit to these dungeons. And a secret password too. Mebbe's I do, said Queen Sycorax. But it's highly unlikely I'd tell ye about either in these circumstances now, isn't it? Well, how about if I strike a bargain then, just like you offered me one, said Tsar. If you tell me the way to the Chamber of Magical Removal and the way to the secret exit, and also the secret password, I'll leave you this sword. Queen Sycorax was delighted, although she didn't show it. She really, really wanted the sword, especially now that witches had returned to the forest. The boy thought he was so clever, but he obviously didn't realise the importance of that particular enchanted sword to offer it up so easily. Come on then, I'll accept your bargain, said Queen Sycorax smoothly. The way the Chamber of Magical Removal is... Oh, no, interrupted Tsar. No, please stop right there, Queen Sycorax. He reached into his waistcoat and withdrew a small bottle. Apparently, queens can tell lies. In pursuit of a higher good, of course. So I'm afraid you're going to have to tell me the answer while holding the Love Never Lies potion, so I know you are telling me the truth. Queen Sycorax gave him the look of purest dislike. Tsar handed the Love Never Lies potion. The way to the Chamber of Magical Removal is to turn right and go down the corridor, and it's the 7th door in the Great Cavern, and from there you can reach the secret exit by turning left at every second turning, and the secret password is control, said Queen Sycorax. Tsar made her say it twice to check the love potion wasn't changing, but it remained red, so she must be telling him the truth. He took the Love Never Lies potion from her, and now I'll leave you the sword, said Tsar. I've lost my point. And now, holding up the Love Never Lies potion so that Queen Sycorax could see it clearly. And as soon as he said those words, the liquid inside turned blacker than soot. Whoops, said Tsar. Dear, oh dear, how confusing. It appears that I was lying, grinned Tsar. It's so difficult to keep up, isn't it? Tricked. That horrible little wizard boy had tricked Sycorax into giving him the secret password, and he was going to take the sword anyway. It's always annoying for a tricky person like Queen Sycorax to finally meet someone even trickier than herself. So, Queen Sycorax lost her temper. It was most unlike her, but it had been a really trying day. Why, you rude, lying, disobedient trickster of a boy, shouted Queen Sycorax. Now, tutted Tsar. Be polite, Queen Sycorax. Insults will get you nowhere. Please, could you very kindly lend me your keys and your cloak as well? I think it will be helpful for me to disguise myself as you so that your guards let us leave without a fuss. Thank you so much. With gritted teeth, Queen Sycorax handed him her keys to all the cells and her very distinctive bright red cloak, lined snugly with royal black and white fur. You have to admit, continued Tsar, putting Queen Sycorax's magnificent coat round his shoulders, a boy of destiny like me does need a really cool weapon that is magic mixed with iron. I'm not surprised you're so keen on this sword. It's something quite out of the ordinary. Sycorax gave a smile made out of icicles. I'm afraid I'm going to have to lock you in your own cell. said Tsar apologetically. It's not exactly suitable for royalty, but you are a very wicked queen, to have taken away the magic of my people and kept us prisoners and threatened to kill my sprite. You need to be taught a lesson, and that is what a prison is for. Can I do her hair, Tsar? Begged Bumblebeetle. Please, can I do her hair? She's been so mean to poor Squeeze Juice. Oh, all right, said Tsar, but do it gently. Bumblebeetle flew into the queen's hair, and in 2 snaps of a ladybird's wing, she had whipped it into a creatively complicated rat's nest of tangles. Sycorax was standing absolutely still and white and bone deadly with anger. Bumblebeetle buzzed backwards to survey her handiwork with satisfaction. Above Sycorax's pointed with freezing rage face, so dignified, so regal, so tidy, so furious. Her beautiful, pure waterfall of controlled golden tresses was now shooting upward in a vertical mess of scrambled electricity, like a furball having a fit. Ooh, that's good, very good, hissed Tiffenstorm in malicious delight, and the sprites nearly fell out of the air, they were laughing so hard. Those elf locks will take weeks to brush out. And while you are brushing them out, it will help you remember, cautioned Tsar, to leave us once magic people alone in the future. And I warn ye, spat Queen Sycorax, every word a cold white arrow, never, ever set foot in my territory ever again, or by the gods of the trees and the water, I swear I shall make ye regret it every single day. You have to catch me first, grinned Tsar. Then he said goodbye, Queen Sycorax, giving her a very low bow, and he and the snowcats and the sprites swept towards the door. Tsar with a very satisfactory royal swish of Sycorax's own cloak. Just as Tsar was about to leave the chamber, he had a thought, and he turned. Ooh, sorry. Pages are stuck together. By the way, I didn't really mean it about being soft, said Tsar. You are just as tough as a warrior queen ought to be. He ran out the door, and Bodkin, waiting hidden by the doorway, locked the door of the chamber behind him, leaving Sycorax all alone in cell number 445, thoughtfully adjusting her armour. She had a lot to think about. You were very mean to my mother, scolded Wish once they were out of earshot. I was very polite, protested Tsar. I said nice things about how tough she was. You said she was a very wicked queen, and Bumblebeetle really messed up her hair, said Wish in awed horror. She's going to be absolutely hopping mad, isn't she, Bodkin? Absolutely hopping, said Bodkin. I was very merciful, said Tsar. If she wasn't your mother, I'd have killed her. Now, what did she say again about how the way to the Chamber of Magic Removal? Right down this corridor, and then it's the 7th door in the Great Cavern, said Bodkin. They were riding on the backs of the snowcats down through corridors that led them deeper, ever deeper underground, so low that the air was shiveringly cold, and a trembling Wish lay down further and further into Forest Heart's thick fur coat. Tsar could feel Squeeze Juice had gone rigid inside the package above his heart. If they didn't get him to the stone quickly, they would lose him entirely. The corridor eventually opened up into a great cavern lit by flickering torchlight. Tiffenstorm gave a horrified hiss and ducked behind Tsar. It's over there, she hissed. There were 7 doors leading off the cavern, and the 7th door had a faded sign above it saying, Chamber of Magic Removal. The doorway was crooked, and not as large as they might have expected. If a giant wanted its magic removed, it would have to lie down in the cavern and stretch its arm through the door. A strange magnetic force seemed to want to pull Tsar towards that crooked door, like an ice-cold wind tugging him. And then he realised it was the sword hanging beside him, twisting round and pointing at the door as if it were an iron finger. Every single instinct in Tsar's bones was telling him, run away. Go no further. Stop here. Night Eye, Forest Heart, and King Cat paced in anxious circles, growling, spitting, and howling. Don't go in there. Don't go in there. Don't go in there. Don't go in there, hissed the sprites. But we have to go in there, said Wish, getting down off Forest Heart's back. For the sake of the sprite, said Tsar, springing off King Cat. Wish put the key in the keyhole, and the door to Sycorax's chamber of magic removal swung open. And that is where we're finishing. That's the end of that chapter. So we're on page 285, chapter 17. We will pick it up tomorrow. I have lost my page marker. I hope you enjoyed that and enjoy the rest of your lovely sunny day. I will see you all again tomorrow for more Wizards of Once shenanigans. Look, we're nearly at the end of the book, guys. But I've ordered the next one in the series. So have fun, and I can't wait to see you again very soon. Bye bye.